Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. I'm Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane and over on Instagram at Trevor Lane NBA. If you happen to want to see pictures of the Christmas tree I put up today with my wife and my daughter, that was a lot of fun. Joining me, Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA over on the Twitter machine. Keith, do you guys have your tree up yet?
We do not. I think that's going to be probably all the Christmas stuff is going to come out of storage tomorrow on Wednesday. And then we're going to, I think, get the outside lights put up tomorrow. So that's our annual fight. That might as well be scheduled. My wife is highly, highly organized about the Christmas lights, and I'm a little more, yeah, that looks pretty good. But the tree, then it'll probably come in and go up. We have to do some puppy
Oh,
proofing
yes.
first because
Yep.
we don't need him messing around with the tree and all that stuff. So we get a little bit of work to do first where it goes, and then but yeah, soon, very soon. We're getting there. Hey, I promise you too, today you have my full attention for the entirety of this show. So a couple people caught my distractedness, and what I took away from that is thank you for
That's right.
watching the whole
That's
video
right.
because that happened towards the end. So I
And
really
and I
appreciate
got
that.
called out for not wearing green. So I'm wearing my green shirt. I'm paying off the bet that we made that if the Celtics beat the Lakers, I would wear green just like you were going to wear purple. If the Lakers had won that game, I wore green on the Lakers Nation post-game show, but I should have realized that I needed to do it right here as well on the NBA front office channel.
True.
So here we are. We do have a lot of NBA news to get into, although Keith, I do have to mention, you talked about puppy proofing. My big heart-stopping event of the day, I looked into my backyard and saw our 6-month-old puppy, who's 70 pounds because he's a Bernese Mountain Dog, running across the yard with our neighbor's chicken in his mouth. That was
Oh,
not great. I had to chase him down. I was able to save the chicken, fortunately, but
all right.
that
Well
was
done.
that was a terrifying moment, particularly for a 5-year-old. I covered her eyes really quickly, and yes, not
Yeah,
not great,
really.
not great.
I see. If you were here in Florida, you would have went with had a snake
Yes,
cornered or
yep,
something like that. We've had that a
gator.
couple times. Possums, yeah, no gators, thankfully. We've got a fence that I don't think they would have a lot of interest in climbing, but our neighbors on either side of us and behind us have pools, so they tend to have a lot of snakes like to get in the pools, and then they make their way into the yards, and yeah, and then the dogs like to find them. So yeah, we do watch him. We have eagles here in Florida
Mm-hmm.
now, bald eagles, which are beautiful, and they migrate down here, I guess, during the colder months, and they up north, and they will pick up anything that's kind of small. So we still have to kind of keep an eye on him because he's still a little guy. He's getting bigger, but he's still he's eagle sizes. I think that they could
So
scoop
you
him
got
up.
to keep
So we have to
got to
watch
keep
him.
Alex Caruso away from your puppy, is what you're telling me. The bald eagle.
There it is.
We do
There it
need to get
is.
into some NBA news. A lot of things going on around the world of professional basketball, and I guess the first thing, LaMarcus Aldridge having some trouble with the Brooklyn Nets. You know, the Nets have not been the powerhouse team quite that we thought they were going to be. Part of that might be Kyrie
Mhm.
Irving, but LaMarcus Aldridge also admits that it's been a tough time for him. He said about coming off the bench, it's been very difficult. You've been one type of player or a certain type of player your whole career. It's definitely different coming off the bench and not playing much. So it's been difficult. I'm still trying to figure it out and navigate and find my spots. I'm just trying to find my ways to try and help out. I think that's a very honest take from LaMarcus Aldridge. And it's a reminder of how difficult it really can be when we ask guys who were stars to transition into being role players.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't. Some people took this news as LaMarcus Aldridge was
Yeah.
complaining, saying he's not happy with his role. I think it was just he was being extremely candid about, hey, this is hard. I've been nothing but a starter. Basically, he became a starter about midway through his rookie season with the Trailblazers, and then was a starter all the way up until the Spurs basically said, "You're not really part of our plans." And then they brought him off the bench for 3 games, then shut him down. And then he was waived in the 5 games he played with the
Mm-hmm.
Nets last year before the discovery of his heart issue. He started all 5 of those games as well for Brooklyn. So now his play has not shown that it's been difficult. Shooting a career high 57.7% from the field. He's at 39% from three. It's only 1.5 attempts per game, but still, that's still
Hmm.
pretty good. And he's third on the team in scoring at 13.4 points per game in only 21.4 minutes. 5.8 rebounds. He's never been like the
No.
dominant rebounder that I think people think of there, but yeah, in 1.2 blocks per night, that's really good for him. My guess is because Blake Griffin has kind of struggled some, we could see a change come here, at least until Nick Claxton is back. Claxton hopefully gets back, and then he'll probably reclaim that starting spot, or at least maybe we'll reclaim it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Aldridge can. But all this tells me is, man, LaMarcus Aldridge still has a lot left in the
Oh yeah.
tank to be playing this
And
well at age
and so
36.
happy to see him back out there when we thought his career was over because of the heart issue. I mean, you never want
Absolutely.
to see that where a
Yep.
guy, like we all get older, we all get to a point where we can't play the game anymore. That's human nature. But you hate to see a guy's career get cut short because of something like that. I mean, we talk about Chris Bosh, a number of other players who have been in that type of situation.
Yep.
Just great to see him be able to get back out on the floor and do his thing. And you know what? Again, it's not easy to go from being a starter, from being the guy, to coming off the bench and no longer being that guy. Although, like you mentioned, he's playing really well. I do wonder, can the Nets really make that change right now? Like the optics on it, if they were to say tonight, suddenly Aldridge is the starter, wouldn't it come across as like, oh, because he was complaining, that's why they did it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I would hope on a veteran team, everybody would
Right.
get it and be like, all right, hey, it's just about winning there. You could maybe do it as far as, hey, we're going to give Blake a night off.
Sure.
And then if Aldridge gets the start and plays well, you can kind of run with it of, hey, we're just going to try this for a while. But I mean, I don't know that if I was the Nets, I'd be more reluctant to make a change. They're 13-5, best record in the East. I think that's the third best record in the NBA behind the Warriors and Suns. So I don't know that I'd be looking to make any kind of change right now, just because you're playing really well. I would just kind of leave it there. And again, it just to make sure we're being very clear about this. It did not come off at all like Aldridge was
Right.
complaining. He was just being very candid about, yeah, this is different for me, and it's been a little hard. It's I'm very curious to see, just to so I can make it Celtics related here for a
Mhm.
second. The Celtics play the Nets tomorrow night, Wednesday night on Thanksgiving Eve, and that's a pretty good test for the Celtics. They've won 3 in a row. They're playing pretty good basketball right now. They're going to get the Nets. We'll see. That's a good opportunity to gauge how far has Boston come, or
Sure.
was it a win over a Lakers team that was working LeBron back in, and then 2 bad teams in the Thunder and Rockets. So my thing that I've counted on that is a lot of people are going, oh, they beat the Lakers right now are an average team, and then they beat 2 bad teams. Like, how much do we want to make of this? And my counter to it is they stomped all
Yep.
3 of those teams. Like, it wasn't close. I mean, the Thunder game ended up close at the end, but that was just because they pressed and did a whole bunch of weird stuff. And Ime Udoka probably emptied the bench a little too early. But that's my thing, is you can only play the teams in front of you, and when you beat them badly, all right, that's a thing. So, but that was just an aside there, because the Celtics and Nets play
Yeah, so
tomorrow
it should
night.
be a good test for them, and we'll get a better sense of where the Celtics are really at. Of course, it's still early in the season, but get an idea of what things are looking like there. The Kings, on the other hand, not,
Phew.
not looking so
Not
good.
the
In fact,
best
Luke
record in the
Walton,
league.
we talked about this the other day. Luke Walton was fired by the team, and Alvin Gentry took over. Did not change anything. They lost to a 76ers team playing mostly backup players. And Tristan Thompson had some choice words for the team afterwards. And Tristan Thompson has already said some things about the Kings, the organization, all that kind of stuff. So maybe not a surprise that he's the one to have some comments again, but I don't know when this nosedive is going to end, when they're going to be able to pull up out of this. If you're the Sacramento Kings, I mean, you just got rid of the coach. Usually, when the coach gets fired, you get this like 2 to 3 game, I don't know, maybe honeymoon
Yep.
period that we want to
Bounce.
call, where
Mm-hmm.
everybody is super locked in and they go through this little spurt. And sometimes that gets extended, like we saw with the Atlanta Hawks last season. But in this case, the Kings, they just kept right on losing.
Yeah, it's so this is just to give a sense of where this is at right now. They're 6-12 on the season. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games after starting the year 4-4. So it really has not been very good. They've been very bad at home, 2-7 at home. They're 4-5 on the road. Just not playing well at all. The defense isn't very good. The offense has been okay-ish. Alvin Gentry, let's give him time, right, to kind of come in. But he did say he didn't think it was schematic things. Maybe he's just being kind and generous to Luke Walton there, not trying to trash him on his way out. Just the way the players have played. So that is worrisome, because if it was schematic of we got to play faster, so I'm going to have us push, we're going to play smaller, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Those could be things that could be a fix, really energize the team and go. But just saying like we don't play very well, that's tough. And to illustrate the point you made, the Sixers started 5 backups, and then the 4 guys who played off the bench, only one is really a rotation player. So they started 5 backups and then played 3 non-rotation players. Yeah, in that game. None of their 5 starters from opening were available. They're all either out with injuries or illness right now, and they just went in and really took a game away from them. Andre Drummond continues to play well, 23 rebounds last night for Andre Drummond.
Killing me.
I didn't even know you owned him in fantasy.
I picked him up as a streamer, and then I waived him and picked up somebody else, and I'm like, I should have just stuck with Drummond, but no.
Yeah, you definitely should. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey, just while we're talking Philly, really coming into his own also in his second year, really figuring some things out. Playing pretty well. So nice player there for Philly for sure. And so where this goes for Sacramento, but Tristan Thompson basically saying too, there was a play, Rashawn Holmes got hit in the face in this game and went down, and Thompson wasn't advocating for any let's go crazy and start nonsense like we saw in the Pistons Lakers game. But what he was saying is we have to give a hard foul back. We have to set a hard screen on somebody if you're going to let your guys get beat up. And he basically said, we can't be so nice. You have to be, tougher when you're out there with that. So, we'll see where that goes for Sacramento, but I can't imagine it's going anywhere.
So Mark Cuban, and we didn't put this in our show notes for this one, but this is a story that I wanted to address. Mark Cuban said the Mavs are not going to trade Kristaps Porzingis. Speaking of a big man here.
Oh, yeah.
So Tristan, the Tristan Thompson thing, obviously that's important about the Kings and all of that. But Mark Cuban was asked about Kristaps Porzingis and whether or not the Mavs tried to trade him. He said no. He essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, he essentially said when you trade a superstar, you tend to not win that trade. So he still sees Porzingis in that light, even though he hasn't been playing that great. He's picked it up in the last few games, but over his Mavs tenure, he has not quite been what they expected. But it sounds like Mark Cuban is saying, no, that's not something we're going to do. We're not going to trade this guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because you can't come right out and say we are going to trade him, because then that's not a good look. Certainly, that doesn't feel very good. But yeah, so I guess that's not the worst thing, but you're right. I mean, this is what he's done since coming back from injury. He is, let me do this a smart way. I was going to try to do math on my fly, and I'm like, Basketball Reference will do it for me. Let me just let them do it.
While you're doing that, in his 8 games, Porzingis himself said, I think we can be one of the best duos in the league. I truly believe that, talking about Luka. So we had that quote. Mark Cuban's direct quote. This is from Mark Medina of NBA.com. Said, that's not true of a Porzingis trade. Why would I do that at all? Trades like that, you always end up further behind when you trade a superstar. You never get the best of it. And he said that Porzingis is playing at an all-star level. This is the unicorn, and he's doing more and more unicorn things.
Yeah, so to back that up, in the 8 games since he came back from injury, remember he was out. He played the first 3 games and missed a couple weeks with an injury. Then he came back. In those 8 games, 23.1 points, 9.1 rebounds, 1.4 blocks, 2.5 assists, which is actually encouraging because he's not a very big ball mover guy. But 50% from the field, 37.5% from 3, 91% from the free throw line on 4.5 attempts a night. So that's that's all-star level play, I guess. I mean, that you can't really argue that. So I'm there with Mark Cuban on that one. Let's see. They need Luka back. There was a little bit of news from Callie Kaplan of I want to say the Dallas Morning News or the Dallas News, or she's a Dallas Mavericks beat reporter. That he was doing some 5-on-5. They came in, caught the end of that practice with him doing 5, then let out a yell and went to the bench holding his left knee once again. So unclear exactly what was going on. I think he is questionable for tonight's game against the Clippers. But yeah, I guess that's fair to say that Porzingis is playing well, and I wouldn't trade him if he's playing this well either.
Yeah, absolutely. Nor do I think that I think he's right. You're not going to get the return that you want at this point if you try to trade him.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to give you one that wasn't in the show rundown. John Wall. As we know, John Wall not playing for the Rockets. He was at at the Celtics Rockets game. There was a video that was aired in Boston of him working out pregame. Looks to be in pretty good shape physically. He was going pretty hard through a pregame workout, but did not play in the game. And then Chris Mannix of SI tweeted something to the extent of, "It's just kind of wild that Wall's healthy but not playing. Clearly looks like he could play. Where does this situation go?" And Wall replied to that tweet with just "did not dress" as his reply. And then a fan said, "This is crazy. You're being punished for something you can't control." And Wall quote tweeted that with "facts." And I think some emojis or something like that, if I remember correctly. So now the truth lies somewhere in the middle. John Wall certainly could control this. He could say, "Hey, I'll take a massive buyout." By no means am I suggesting John Wall should do that. I don't think he should. He's owed the money on the contract he signed. The Rockets acquired him knowing what the deal was. But it just leads further. I've been saying for months now, since we found out Wall wasn't going to be part of the plans this year, is let's see what happens post-trade deadline. If he's not traded, does this turn into a Blake Griffin situation of, all right, I want to play. Like, well, what do we have to do? Where do we need to get money-wise? How much do I have to give back? And a point I made to some friends today is basketball players play basketball, and there's only a limited amount of time that they can do that. Once that is passed, that's it. You can no longer play. You're no longer, a basketball player. And John Wall is now 31 years old.
Clock's
so
ticking.
You got to start to be thinking, how many more years of feeling kind of good, being in pretty good shape does he have left? There we talked. I want to say it was at the end of last week about a report maybe linking him to the Heat, on the buyout market. So we'll see where that goes. Nothing imminent there, but just that raised my eyebrows a little to say, all right, if he's really kind of now replying to tweets and things with his unhappiness, we may see this rectify, because no one's going to trade for him. No one's going to take on.
But interesting, because we had heard before that John Wall was on board with this plan, and then that tweet suggests that maybe he might not be. And that could lead you to a buyout situation. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did finally get, Keith, we joked about it on yesterday's show, that as soon as we stopped recording, it was probably going to come out, the information on LeBron.
And it was hours later.
LeBron and Isaiah Stewart's suspensions. It actually they waited until I left, and I was away from anything. I was 45 minutes away from my studio, so I couldn't record anything instantly on it. Of course, thank you so much, NBA. But LeBron James suspended for 1 game. He'll miss tonight against the Knicks. Isaiah Stewart suspended for 2 games. That was about what you were thinking it was going to be, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I thought it would be. I thought that they would each get 1 for kind of what happened. Then Stewart would get an additional 1 just for the way he acted. As Dwayne Casey said, didn't leave the court in a timely manner. And clearly the NBA disagreed that it is not was not a small thing there. So yeah, it makes sense to me. The bummer is Knicks tonight. That's the game LeBron James misses. But can we now stop with all of this stuff of, the NBA, does this and that, and LeBron will appeal it and all that? It's not, yeah, they're going to do everything they can. They'll suspend him after and all those kind of things. It's not a thing. It's never really been a thing. There was a game several years ago, probably going close to 20 years ago now. I forget who it was, but a player was suspended for a Christmas Day game after an altercation a couple days out on that. So, that's the only bummer is, just somebody, I'm going to be flipping around games tonight. I would have rather seen the Lakers at full strength in New York and see where it goes. But
And they
it is
might
what
not
it
have
is.
Anthony Davis either, who has been reported as
Saw
sick with
that.
a non-COVID illness, and he's now questionable. So I've got Lakers media availability in about 25 minutes, and so we'll see what Frank Vogel has to say on that one. Last thing, guy you know fairly well, Semi Ojeleye, dealing with an injury now. I'm forgetting. I'm spacing. He was out, what,
It's a
3?
calf
No, I mean
injury.
3 weeks with the calf injury. Was that what it was reported?
Yeah, they're saying 3 weeks. About 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks. He was out. He missed all of preseason and then missed a chunk of the early season. I think it was the first 4 games, and now he's out. He something was clearly not right when I've seen him play. He's just not moving right, and that's tough for the Bucks because the Bucks were hoping that he could give them some replication of what they got from PJ
Right.
Tucker. Clearly, he's not PJ Tucker, but just another guy who could do some do some defending, hit some corner threes, those kind of things. His defense hasn't been there because he's really been struggling, and his shooting has been awful. I think he's at 25% overall from the field right now. So just, hopefully get him the time off he needs, let him get right and go from there. But yeah, that Milwaukee's thinner
Yeah.
than I think people realize. And rotation players, they're getting guys back now, and sounds like positive news on the Brook Lopez front that he'll be back soonish here. But their depth it's tough, especially in the front court. It's pretty much Giannis, Portis, and Brook Lopez, and not a whole heck of a lot else. Now, Giannis is a pretty good place to start from. I think anybody would start there,
Yeah.
but that's just just something they're gonna have to work through, and they have very limited options to add to the team too. They just don't have tradable salaries.
Or assets.
They're kind of what they are at
Yeah.
this point.
Yep. And so they're going to hope that people get healthy sooner rather than later, and then go from there. All right. I think that gets us through quite a bit of news, even some news that we didn't intend to get into today, but I thought we covered some good stuff here. Appreciate everybody who's been joining us on a daily basis. Thank you guys, all of you who are subscribing right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel, especially those of you that have turned on notifications. So important, and we really appreciate it when you do that. And make sure you do follow Keith over on Twitter at KeithSmithNBA. You can find me at Trevor_Lane. Keith, back at it tomorrow.
Back at it tomorrow, and then we're going to take Thanksgiving off because that's a day we should be spending with our family and friends. So you can catch up on old episodes when you're hiding out from your family and looking for something to do. And when you're hiding, that my trick used to be go and hide. I got to go to the bathroom, and then you hide in there for a while and just hang out. And smartphones have made that trick a lot easier. Let me tell you.
There you go. Tips on how to hide from your family from Keith Smith. And
watch out for wildlife with your dogs too, apparently, and domesticated animals apparently as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow.